Oh, you got it, Heather? Did you hit it? Okay, thanks. Okay, perfect. I don't think I'm actually logged in as a host. So that means if you, Heather, can you make me co-host? Or that way, if you have to log off, okay, thanks. That'll help. That will help. Ah, got it. All right. Okay, cool. Okay, you guys, we're going to get started. So just to give you a little bit of how today's going to go. One, I wish we were in person, but that's okay. And that's okay. We'll compromise and do this. And I feel like now is such an important time. I have so many things to share. I'm going to go as quick as I can. And then I have Adam coming on to share something really, really great with you guys. Several of you I have conversations with, and then even other people too, around being able to master the art of asking questions. And so I'm just going to have him do like a quick tidbit on that. But before we get rolling, I really want to know and hear from you guys, and you can unmute. How are you all feeling like the market is right now? How is your business? Anything you want to share? What are you struggling with? What's something that's working really well for you right now? Would love just any open feedback that you guys have and what you're feeling. So if anybody wants to unmute and hop on and go first, would be awesome. Don't be shy.
Hey, Dana, good morning.
Hi, Cody.
Cody here in Columbus. Good to see a lot of you that I know. New to KW here as of about a month and a half ago.
Glad to have you.
But not new to the business, but good to see most of you guys. So business going well. I just think it's, would love to get some feedback from other agents and different marketplaces. I know even in Columbus, there's quite a few different markets that run completely different from some of our suburban markets. So business is going really well. I'm starting to see things maybe to an extent with rates going up, and I don't know, over the past 9 or so days, more listings are coming up, but they are still getting a lot of offers and a lot of things getting chopped out of those as well. So just maybe some ideas to and forth on what you guys are doing to win, other than just, some of the basic stuff. So good to see you all, and hope to connect with you all over the next couple.
Thank you, Cody. That's exactly what I was hoping we could talk about for just the first 5 or 10 minutes. Is everybody pretty much feeling the multiple, many offers? Okay. Is anybody doing anything? I'm trying to flip through and see everybody's faces. Is anybody doing anything differently that you feel like you're having a lot of success winning multiple offers for your clients?
So I thought I was doing something different until this weekend. I was one of 33 offers. And apparently mine didn't stand out quite as much as it needed to. So I think it's just difficult, the things that you can do to make them stand out. Sometimes your folks just can't do, like an appraisal waiver. If they can't pay to make up the difference and or don't want to, then you probably don't stand a shot. And so it's just a hard market, I think. And we're talking about this in different groups, but I think the best thing we can do is, talk to our fellow agents and find some off-market properties or do office exclusives. And maybe then, each of us will have a better shot at being part of that competition. Because, I've been a realtor almost 18 years, and I've never in our market heard of 33 offers. So,
yeah. Yep, I agree, Stephanie. Anybody else want to share?
Yeah, Dana. This weekend we had a listing go up and had 60 something showings, 13 offers on it, and it wasn't necessarily about like what separated somebody or something unique. It was really just putting a nice, clean, like well put together delivery of the offer that was important. I found like most of them, it was really sloppy. The information, some of them didn't even bother giving a pre-approval letter with them. Some of the details didn't line up. We had it in the MLS agent to agent remarks saying what the ideal closing and possession timeline were for our seller. And maybe 25% of them actually like wrote that in their contract and respected that. So like paying attention to the details by most agents, like that's going to show up when we have to actually do the transaction together. Like I want to know that you're going to do the details. But the one thing that surprised me most, like only one of those agents actually put it together in a cover letter to say, here's the highlights and details of our offer. Because when I have to go through like 13 of these offers and each contract's 12, 13 pages plus addendums, and like there's 200 something pages I have to go through to pull out the details about those offers. Whereas if I just had cover letter on each one of them, that's 13 pages. I'm saving that's less than 10% of the time to go through that versus all that. And that's reflective of how I feel about the agent and their client when they do that.
Ryan, that is awesome. Kentucky, Indiana people, are you all doing cover letters?
I had that on my agenda for this week, but I actually got into multi-offer and actually had a agent, which I'm, going to copy and steal, but he added in the attachment because, what I always try to do my best, and it's difficult in this stage, but I always call the other agent, what do they want to do? How many days do they need possession? I try to get all those details because again, I want to present it where all they have to do is sign. And they basically went the one step further and said they need 5 days possession. They need this to make sure it's at least $1,000 earnest money. And so they actually did a little recap, as in the listing agent, they put that out front. So then that saved them some phone calls to even answer, to give me a chance to make the offer clean. But yes, I thought so too. Doing a cover sheet or in the email, here's the recap of my offer. But even like as a listing agent, one step further and put it in the attachments of what you're looking for. So
I like that too, Angie. I'll say, I don't know if Sarah's on or not, but we had an interesting situation this weekend with escalation clauses. Jenny, I think I actually told her to call you. I was like, call Jenny. But we've had people that are nervous to accept an offer that's drastically above list price. Like that's too far above list price. Has anybody encountered that, or are you guys seeing that too? Okay.
Yeah. We went to the step further. And again, it's that buyer's consultation when you can dig in and find out what your buyer can do. We won when it was 48 showings within 24 hours or scheduled within 24 hours and 22 offers. And my client was willing. What we did was we went over asking price a little, but then made the statement that we would do 5,000 over appraised value. We did add an escalating clause. So we were just we understand that all these offers, and we were not the highest bid, and they even said it was down to the appraisal because we went ahead and made the statement that we'll pay 5,000 over appraised value because we know that's going to be the problem.
Yep. Anything anybody else would add that you're seeing a lot of success in, and or maybe an issue you're having around that all of us together might be able to solve?
Sure. Well, one of the things, me personally, I had a listing, and for my client, it wasn't necessarily just the price, it's the least path of resistance. And I've had success with, if my client is not able to do an appraisal deficiency gap, which some of them aren't, you have to be able to work with what they got. Being very transparent, I have to let them know, like, listen, what do we have? What can we offer? How do we make this competitive? So what I have done is that we waived inspection altogether. I mean, it's not ideal, but it's the only kind of negotiation tool that we have. It's the least path of resistance. I've had success with it.
I agree with that, Ricardo. I think that people have, is anybody else waiving inspections altogether, or have you?
Hey, Dana, it's Bridget.
Remedy, but not inspections, because that's kind of a giant liability issue by completely doing that. Because if they uncover $100,000 worth of problems after closing, who are they going after for that?
Yeah.
And done one step further of just like limiting, like we'll do inspections, but they're not going to ask for anything unless it's structural or like, some topic, but saying we're going to waive all, we're not going to ask the seller to repair anything unless it's something major.
Yeah. Bridget, were you going to say something?
Yeah, what I did was I felt like I won the lottery this weekend. There were like 80 some odd showings. There were 16 offers, and they shut it down after 2 days, didn't even let it go into the weekend, but we did win. And what I did was I got a hold of the inspector ahead of time and asked for a 3-day inspection. So that we said, you know what, we understand we're going to waive, but these are first time home buyers. I've got to do my due diligence. I've got to protect them. And even kind of went through everything we saw because it was a house built in the 40s. So anyway, I was able, and that was attractive. And again, I was communicating with the seller, what's really important for you, you know, and I got it. So, but that was what
Good for you.
inspection yesterday. So we're already through it.
Wow. That's so you had it.
There was a plumbing issue that was active. And I reached out and I said, listen, we understand we took this as is, but we've got active leaking here, and she's like, you know what, we're going to get the plumber out and fix it. So. Anyway.
So you had an inspector on standby pretty much. Hey, I need pronto.
I called him before we even put the offer in and I said, how soon can you get out there? So I knew I could put 3 days.
Yep. Okay. Great. I love that, Bridget. Good job. Glad you got it.
Dana, can I say just one thing real quick?
Hey, Angie. Yes.
Okay. One thing just might be helpful for everybody is I think as people have gotten a little bit crazy with trying to get into all these offers, if we have the listing, I think we should also make sure that we are communicating what the seller wants, not what we are hoping for. So right. I know we have a couple agents over here who are actually putting, and I think Angie mentioned something like this, something in the MLS as an additional document that says, hey, these are the seller's desires. And it's actually signed by the seller. Like, will they accept an escalation clause? Yes or no? Are they calling for highest and best? Yes or no? What is the
love that idea.
Yeah. And they write it out and it's signed at the bottom by the seller. So it's us communicating the seller's desires as opposed to us saying, hey, let's work all against and see what I can bring to the seller. I think that's a really good thing for maybe us to consider as agents, just making sure we can always document that we're communicating their desires.
Love that, Angie. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's super great. And one thing I would add to that too is I'm seeing a ton of people saying, hey, actually this happened yesterday. They listed one yesterday. We had buyers who wanted to show it. And of course they said they're going to review all offers on Tuesday at 6 p.m. So it's just nice to give the buyers the expectation of, hey, here's the deal. Obviously we're probably going to be in multiple offer and they're going to review all of them on this day at this time. And it seemed like it gave them a better peace of mind. I love that, Angie. I think that would help tremendously. Jenny asked a great question in the chat. Does anyone have that kind of checklist for their sellers? If you do, and you want to share it, that would be great. You can send it to me and I can send it to everybody, or you can put it in the chat as well. But I think that would be very valuable for sure. Any other thoughts or comments on that? And if not, I'm going to move into a couple of things.
Dana,
yes.
Tim, one more thought.
Tim, you said you show up as Bob. That's funny.
His office. One thing with some higher end buyers, I just simply ask them, you know, we all have a personal risk tolerance, but so do they. And I just ask them just straight on, do you care about the price? And half of them don't. And so then what's an extra 20, 30 grand if you don't care about it? And then I'll ask them, you know, I have had several waive inspections in their entirety, and I just go ahead and ask them, hey, if there's 10,000, 15,000 of repairs here and there, you okay with? And if they want the house, you'd be surprised. They have a personal level of risk and tolerance. And if their timing is they just want a house and they want that house right now, that difference may be 3, 4, 5%. They're okay with it. So I think you just have to ask them.
Yep. Love that. Great point. Absolutely. Ryan, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I got one more thing to suggest. One thing I noticed in the offers we received on the listing this weekend is some of them had pre-approvals from lenders that I haven't had great experiences with. So one good question to ask a listing agent is, what's your experience been with my buyer's lender, to find out if that lender's on that blacklist of that listing agent of they've had nothing but bad experiences, and be open to having your buyer work with somebody else, or ask them, what lenders do you like working with, and be open to getting them a pre-approval through that lender.
Yeah, we've been having our lenders call the listing agent too and walk through the financial situation. And that's had really good feedback.
Ash, that's a good idea. I saw that. I've seen that in Gary's top 100 page, people sharing that, saying that that's like been one of the best things that's had their offers accepted.
Yeah. And we just tell them up front, we're like, these are the top lenders in Central Ohio. Everybody works with them. Everybody trusts them. Like, if you want to win, you're going to need to work with these people. And we're just
You
having
set
a-
that expectation with your buyer.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yep. Great.
We do the same thing in commercial as well. Even though they don't like it, whether I have the buyer or the seller, we ask for the pre-approval letter, and we do call the lender and have them connect to the other side if they need to. And just like on the commercial side, where we may have a few mortgage lenders that are not the best, commercial is exactly the same way. And believe it or not, the worst are usually the biggest banks. Unless you've got a doctor loan or you've got a special SBA specialist, and I got a few people there, but I look for the ones that I know how to work with.
Yeah, totally agree, Troy. Totally agree. Yep. Okay, so what I want to do is try to not try to give you guys some value of some things that I think will help you, one, in your business, but two, will help you understand the industry. Like I said, I kind of have a lot, so I'll move as quick as I can. And if we have questions, just stop me or post them in the chat. I saw this, and so I wanted to share it. I'm going to send the slides to you guys also as well from today so that you can have them all. I know everything is a little crazy right now in the market, and it seems like every agent that I'm having conversations with is like, I'm so stressed out. Everything is so nuts. Everything is so crazy. So I wanted to start with, I actually, Sarah found these somewhere and I just thought they were so great, but your Realtor affirmations every day. Some of you know, I'm very big into affirmations. So I'm an extremely successful realtor. I attract the ideal clients and close deals effortlessly. I remain calm when I'm in high stress situations. Opportunities are in the works without me even knowing it. Sellers seek me out to help with their home needs. Referrals come to me easily and effortlessly, and I can achieve anything that I set my mind to. I love those. I think they're great to just be reminded of every single day. So I'll be sharing those with you guys as well. This has really not a lot to do with the topic today, but I wanted to share this with you. So many of you know, inside of Keller Williams, we have a new, not president. I don't even actually know what they're calling Carl Liebert. He's actually from Floyd Knobs, Indiana. Which is awesome. But this is something that he shared with us. And so for those of you that have teams or are starting teams, I really wanted to share this with you because I just thought this was one of the best things I've ever seen come through the Keller Williams pipeline. This is his goal for KWRI as a team, to have one team, one mission. And so I wanted to share this quickly and just point out a couple of things. I think sometimes we move, and I'm guilty of this too, we move so fast through things that we don't actually set the mission for what we want that to look like. And a lot of these, and again, I'll send this to you, but a lot of these things, I think they just stuck out to me. And I think we would do good to be able to take them back and put some of them in our business. So purpose-led, people first, values inspired, teamwork, get everyone in the game, one plan, collaborate, communicate, execute, which, by the way, these could be great things for as top 20%, as top agents in the market center, for us to continue to, my goal is for us to collaborate even more together, because when we all get together, we think of better things. Compete together, learn together, customer driven. We're going to talk about that today. Embrace your communities. Humble, positive, respectful, belonging. You win together. You play as one. You have energy. You have fun. The 3 C's I loved: courage, commitment, and character. Just a lot of these things I thought were great reminders of how we can run our businesses and how we can run our teams. So I just wanted to make sure that I got that in your hands, and we'll get you a copy of that. I want to go over this. I'm going to spend some time on this state of our industry. And so I know many of you watched Family Reunion, Keller Williams Family Reunion. Some of you may have not. Some of you may or may not saw the vision statement or vision speech, which was last Wednesday. I can't remember the day. I pulled out some of the most important slides. And a lot of times I think when we watch those or when we hear those, we're distracted or we're doing other things. And sometimes it takes even a couple of times for us to really grasp what's being said. I truly believe right now is the most important time in the industry probably ever for real estate agents, for multiple reasons, which I'm going to touch on. I took a screenshot of it. He said the lack of rocks didn't end the Stone Age. And I thought that was comical in regards to the industry, but a couple things I wanted to share. Number one, we need to remember now that Zillow is a brokerage, just like any other brokerage in our MLS, just like Remax, just like an independent broker, just like C21, whatever that looks like. And so we obviously don't need to make any disparaging remarks. And I'm going to state some facts. So I just want to make sure that I'm clear with you guys that these are facts around Zillow. And then also how the industry is changing. I just got off of a Zoom right before this to discuss options for different showing apps, different showing time in regards to showing time, and different ways for us to be able, for those, well, actually, in almost every market, we have #1 market share. So what does that look like to protect our data from that? Would love to hear in the chat, have any of you had an experience with Zillow in regards to the text that they have your buyers' data? I know Stephanie and I just talked about this. Would be interested to hear if any of you have anything that you have screenshots of. Also remember with them, they have to abide by the same MLS rules and guidelines that every other brokerage does. So I just want to make sure that if you guys are seeing something where they aren't abiding by those guidelines, then we need to know. So let your broker know, and then they can let me know. And then we can continue to make sure that we're holding them to the level of accountability that everyone else is. This graph shows you Zillow traffic. Last year, you can see that the 89% agent usage was Zillow. So pretty much the same, the highest year being at 18, but they've held very similar numbers with around 200 million unique visitors, which is a lot. We're going to go into that. This was a slide that I just wanted to make sure everyone really understood what this meant. So last year, and this is 2020, there's about 328 million in US population, 128 million households. Out of those 128 million households, 83 million are actually homeowners. There were 5.6 million homes sold, and there was a little over 84 billion in commissions in the United States. So here's that in a little bit easier graph to read, or slide for you guys to read. So 83 million homeowners, 5.6 million homes sold, 84 billion in commissions. The question that Gary asked that I really want you guys to think about is what are you actually competing for in the industry right now? Is it the 5.6 million homes sold, or is it the 83 million homeowners? And we've got to think bigger picture around this. And so I'm going to share with you guys some stories and give you some ideas around this. But we don't necessarily need to be putting all of our eggs in one basket with the 5.6 million homes that have sold. We need to think about the 83 million people that are actually homeowners out there. This slide, I really want you guys to understand also. So this is a NAR statistic. So this has nothing to do with Keller Williams. This is a National Association of Realtors statistic. 18% of people used the same agent again last year in 2020. It was shocking to me. I don't know about you guys. I would have assumed that number would have been a lot higher. Would love to hear your all's thoughts and feedbacks if you would like to comment in the chat. That one shocked me a little bit, that there's only an 18% repeat rate from past clients, according to NAR last year. One referral for every 10 past clients was the average. 65% of referrals closed. So in this graph, you can see purple were brand new clients, never worked with them. The greenish color were repeat, and the orange was referrals. There's a lot of new business out there. So you can look at this one of two ways. One, there's a lot of new business out there, and or two, what is your percentage of repeat and past clients, and what can you do to make that even larger? Because people are making changes. They are experiencing different trends. They are looking at other agents, their digital marketing. Remember, every consumer can name 3 realtors off the top of their head. So what does that repeat client percentage look like for you and your business? Were you guys up or down from that last year over year? That's a number that you really want to know. You need to know that number, actually. If you don't, you should be tracking that very consistently.
Hey, Dana, what were the numbers on the left signify?
Let me go back. You guys are covering that for some reason on mine. the 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, I think that was million. I think that was actually the transactions, the number of transactions in million. In 100,000. Let me go back home. Let me look at this. Yeah, I guess that's household million. I need to double check that, Jen. Let me double check that. I don't want to tell you an incorrect number. I'll pull that up from my notes and share that with you guys. So when you think about that, Gary, here's where Gary wants us to really get this year. We have to group our database and our clients and our sphere and everybody that we know. We've got to have a very, very specific groupings of our database, because we have to hold on to those people and build relationships with them now more so than ever. Not necessarily just because of Zillow coming in or Redfin coming in and wanting to put agents out of business, but because we need to make sure that we're holding on to them and that they aren't going elsewhere, right? So here's some examples of grouping that Gary and Jay shared and put together that I think are very important. Number one, our business relationships. So you need to know if this is someone in your database who has never done any business with you yet. Are they an active client? Are they a past client? Are they someone who's referred you business? And are they a VIP, which is what Gary calls, are they a serial repeat referral person? Do they continuously over and over more than 3 times they've given you a referral? Every single person in your database needs to be tagged one way or the other so that you can quickly know what group that they are in. So that's the first part, the business relationship. The second is you need to get as much data from all of your people as you possibly can in regards to hobbies and interest. You need to know, do they like to play golf? Do they like to travel? Do they have kids? Are there kids in soccer? And I'm going to give you good examples of why you need to know this stuff. You need to have as much information on them as possible, especially in regards to their hobbies and their interests, because that's what's going to allow you to build the relationship and to keep them a client for life. That's going to give you the ability to build the experience with them that you really need to be able to build. The third grouping is property type. Is it, what price point are they in? Are they looking for acreage? What you need to come up with a couple of different tags and groups for property types. Number 4 would be investors. I know a lot of you on this Zoom work with investors. So you want to have them grouped separately as an investor. And then the 5th one are vendors, and those would be people who refer you vendor wise. And actually, I'm trying to think, I have a great client who owns an S&S tire in Lexington, and I get so many referrals from them. And so I consider him, he is a past client, but he's also kind of a vendor because we send people back and forth. But what do your home inspectors, your lenders, your title companies, all of those people look like as far as your vendor list? And do you have them grouped? So first and foremost, grouping is going to be extremely, extremely important. The second piece to that is keeping your database healthy by making sure you can answer these questions. Are the right people in it? Is their data accurate? And are they in the correct group? If you write down those 3 questions and you go through everybody in your database, these are the questions that you need to know, and you need to know it quickly. And what he means by are the right people in it? Are you missing anybody? Is there anybody else? I mean, I just realized the other day, this stupid, simplest thing, but I've had the same dentist forever, and he is not even in my database. And I was like, this is nuts. I was actually trying to find his phone number. And so I was searching his name, and my database pulled up on my laptop, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's not even in my database. So who could you be missing? And then is their data correct? And then are they in the correct group? Those are the main 3 questions that you need to know. This I found extremely interesting because I feel like I've been talking about this for 2 years. So according to NAR for 2020, there's statistics that they did on the 2020 profile of home buyers and sellers. The most important factors for buyers are as ranked below. Honest and trustworthy was number 1 at 21%. The experience that they receive, raise your little digital hand if you've heard me say the word experience a million times over the last 2 years. The experience was number 2 at 18%. Reputation of the agent, number 3 at 15%. And then from there, you can see friend or family member, knowledge of the neighborhood, good listener, caring personality, et cetera, et cetera. 54% said the most important things to them were the honest and trustworthy, the experience they're receiving, and the reputation. I know many of you have the book, the experience book. Oh shoot, I normally have it right here. I bet Adam grabbed it. If you don't, I would highly recommend there. Jenny, thank you. Yes. Jenny's holding it up for those of you that can flip and see through Jenny. Jenny, will you type the title and the author in the chat, pretty please? Thank you. If you don't have that book and or you haven't read it, I would highly recommend that you get that ASAP because it's going to talk to you all about providing the experience for your clients. And I'm going to continue to tell you why that is going to be really, really important. Did this shock anybody besides me? I mean, I wasn't shocked, but I was a little bit to see. I feel like this has completely changed over the last 5 years. The flipped, the experience wasn't up there, but the timely responses I feel like used to be higher. Thank you, Jenny. It's definitely changed for sure. So that's important for you to understand. And that goes with this next slide. This was probably one of my favorite slides of the entire presentation that Gary did. And that's because right now, our clients and our consumers, they need trust. So Gary called this the trust triangle. So at the top is authenticity. I experience the real you. That's why you need to know what their interests are, what their hobbies are, what do they like to do, because you need to find a commonality with your people. You're not going to have it with every single person, but as many of them as you can, and they need to experience the real you. They don't just need to see sold another house, sold another house, sold another house. Oh, here's another client. They need to see that you, Allie, like to play tennis, and that Angie, you're very involved in football, and that I'm trying to scroll through and see pictures, that Cody, you love to play golf, that all of those things that I know about all of you guys, they need to know those things as well, because they need to experience the real you. To the right of that is the empathy. They need to believe that you care about them and their success. And not only just that one transaction, but what does their future look like? How long do they want to stay there? What are their wealth goals? Do they want to start with investing? Are they already investing? What is their business? Do they own a business that you might be able to care about and help them be more successful in their business? Do they own a tire store and you can share that with all of your clients? What is it that they need to know that you care about them and their success? And then the left side is logic. They need to know that you can do it. Your reasoning and judgment are sound. This is obviously important, especially right now. They need to know that you guys are making sound decisions, that you have great relationships with your other agents so that you can communicate multiple offers, that you can give them sound advice, all of those things. So to me, this is probably one of the most important slides. We've gone past the time in our industry where someone just wants you to know about the neighborhood and to be able to write up an offer for them. Like, those days are gone. This is what it's about. And so I just want to make sure that you guys really know and understand that, because it's only going to get more and more important. This part is going to be interesting, and I'm going to share with you a personal example, and some of you guys are going to laugh at this, but I am showing you that I'm very real and authentic. So you'll see this. Okay, so here's what Gary says. I just was on a Zoom with Jason Abrams last week, and it hit me like a rock in between the eyes. I was like, okay, this is what we need to talk about on the top 20%. There are 3 things that you need to understand about your business moving forward. The 3 things. I'm going to walk you through these and help you understand. Number 1 is the data, and then the insights, and then the action. This is how the world is communicating and doing business now. And so we have to make sure that we understand this as real estate agents. And so I'm going to walk you through a very funny example. This is my nephew, Graham. He is one of my favorite human beings. And I just put at the top, just so you can see, that's me on the left and him on the right as a baby. And I just felt, my mom's like, he looks just like you, not your brother. But I just love him to pieces. And so I'm going to walk you through a real life example on something. This is Graham's first birthday. And this is the golf cart that I bought him for his first birthday. I know that you Ohio folks are not digging that UK symbol, but just bear with me, Angie. Okay, so this is his first birthday. I bought him a golf cart. This was his second birthday, and I got him this little Land Rover that I just thought was like the cutest thing ever. And he just cuts around the neighborhood in that thing and like spins out the wheels, and it's hilarious. For Christmas, I got him this John Deere tractor. He's obsessed with tractors. I know, Melissa, your little boy probably went through this too. Yes, he's obsessed with all things tractors. And I had to put this in here because you guys, like, he wants to pull Frankie around on that back part, my dog, and he's like not having it whatsoever. But for Christmas, that's what I got him. So this just popped up in my email from Amazon because his birthday is in 3 weeks. So Amazon emailed me and said, we found something that we think that you might like, which was this camo razor 4-wheeler thingamajig that based off of the past history, they thought that I might like this. Okay. So here's the thing. Here's what happened. That they received my data. They knew birth dates by now. They know the presents that are specific to the age group. They know the price point that, unfortunately, I'm willing to spend, which then moved to the insight of them saying, okay, here is the next item that you might like to purchase. And here's some examples and ideas of what that might look like. And then what happens after that? The action happens, which is where I add that to my cart and I do a 1-click buy. And that's what's here for his birthday. So I want to pause and get feedback from you. Are you guys like seeing how that is coming into play in everything in our lives right now? Thoughts, comments? Let me check the chat. Yes, my brother. Chris,
creepy, but yeah.
Lori, it's creepy. Yes, that's my first thought too. And yes, you guys are laughing. Actually, my brother was like, okay, I'm going to have to put a lift inside the garage at this point for Graham's vehicles. But yeah, it's creepy and it's our reality. And so this is why I know that we get a lot of pushback and a lot of feedback, I guess I'll say, not pushback, feedback around why are we a tech company and what happened to a tech company? And while a lot of us understand that, this is the reason why. And so I just want to make sure that you guys, if Amazon knows that I got Graham a golf cart and then I got him the Land Rover and then I got him the tractor and now he probably needs the 4-wheeler, like we are in a different world, right? This is the reality that we're living in. And so what I want you guys to do is think about this when it comes to your clients. This is why we have to get as much data on them as we can, because when command is at the point that it will work and that it will be our go-to, or even if you choose not to use that, and even if you're not with Keller Williams and you listen to this at some point in time, that's okay too. What you need to be asking yourself is, what platform do you have that does that? We have to be able to get their data. It has to be able to tell us, hey, Josh he bought a house 5 years ago, and every 5 years they start to look. And so at this point, they're probably ready to be up in the million price point because they did buy 300 and then they went to 600. And so do you see what I'm saying? It has to be able to tell us that. We have to be able to know as much data as we possibly can, because just for those of us that think that maybe that won't happen in real estate, I'm just here to tell you that it will and that it already is. And so I want you guys to understand and be on the forefront of that. And so think about it this way. You have to have unique insights. So think about it this way: as a first-time home buyer guide, and a specialized process. Then unique access, you're giving them a first-time home buyer seminar that they only have unique access to. And then the third, unique services, do you create a vendor list with a personal touch that everybody gets that comes through that first-time home buyer guide, then to your seminar, and then you end with them some sort of service, which is going to lead them to an action of knowing that you're the realtor that they are going to choose to work with. So let me just pause here for a minute. Questions, feedback, would love to hear from you guys.
Just to be transparent, after hearing this, I felt a little overwhelmed in creating different processes, accesses, and services for each group of people I have, because I have maybe 5 or 6 different primary groups. And so I just have a hard time with thinking about all that. So I guess if you could give me a suggestion on breaking it down so that we can implement all 3 of those for different groups, and the easiest way to do that.
Yep, love that. Stephanie, I think you're probably not the only one that would feel overwhelmed by that. So I'm going to turn it back into a question. Does anybody currently have a group, or are you doing this? That's something that you feel like you're really providing unique insights, access, and services to? And then if not, I kind of want to put Josh on the spot. Sorry. And to have you talk about some of the things you do for the Kentucky Life, because I feel like you nail this when it comes to the property management stuff.
What specifically? What examples?
Let's see. Do you have a specific example around a unique process that then you've given them access to that then has turned into a service for all of your investor clients and or the tenants?
Well, for the investors, we provide like an ambassador program as well. And then that means that if they're just looking for a property or need information about a specific investment property or want to learn more about it, then we provide access to really a resource of people that can help them. So that goes out every single month. If it's different tools, if it's different webinars, if they want to start, let's say Airbnb, then we have access to like a YouTube page that shows them how to launch an Airbnb. So that's how we make it full circle.
Yeah, I love that. Will you really fast share where you just took your whole team and what y'all did?
We went to Disney because we're doing the whole experience book and all the services. So we went to Disney to see how they execute their level of service and experience, so we could come back and really talk about it and execute it. So it was pretty awesome.
I love that. I love that you guys. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I put a lot of thought around this, and these are called like value stacks. And what I think you have to do is we get a little too granular, like, you know, specific types of buyers and sellers. And I think you just got to start with buyers, then start with sellers. Start value stacking where that fits in with your unique access that you're giving them with unique services. And from there, you can start growing it to be more granular for people who are sellers that might be in a downsizing situation or divorce or whatever have you, or different types of buyers that we have. But I think in the beginning is start stacking, start feeling about all the value that you have, and then applying it to each one of these categories, and then start building from there. I don't think you have to see the end result yet, but you just got to start thinking, what are some unique values and insights and services that we offer? And we all do. Once you start writing them down, you start realizing, I do have all this to offer. Now, how do we give that back to our clients so they know that we offer these things?
Yep, totally agree, Oliver. Have you started doing anything specific for one of your groups?
Specifically, not yet. I think for like unique insights, a lot of it through command, yes, because I'm making sure our database is razor tight. So I'm making sure that we're getting market reports to all my sellers or all the people that own homes. I'm making sure that all my buyers, they have MLS access, they have my app, they have access to my website, which has another unique IDX search on there. So I'm making sure they have those unique insights. And then in terms of like unique access, that's how, like, what I'm building on is like seminars. So I want to be more virtual. I want to make sure they have more access to me, so we don't have to go to them. They can come to us, or we can meet in the middle somewhere. So I'm making sure that they do have more access to us. And then unique service, that's the fun part. That's your unique spin of how you treat your clients. I think that's where the real experience comes from, is the unique service that you're delivering.
Yeah, totally agree. Yep, totally agree. Any other thoughts or questions or comments on that before I move on?
Dana, I could give an example.
Yes, Angie, please.
So one of my groups happens to be coaching families. That's just a group that I service a lot. And so some of those types of things are knowing what makes sense in their world. So, hey, here's where you can get your tailgating supplies. Here's specifically what you'd be looking for. Here's the bar chairs for people that can hold 300-pound linemen. Here's the tricks for game day parking, even if you have a parking pass. Here's some things like that. And then, also, I'll be your emergency contact person for daycare, since you know no one, or preschool.
Love that.
So like, there's certain types of things, like if I truly care and know their lifestyle and I understand it, that I can offer that's different.
Yep, that is a perfect example. And that is a group I don't know if you know the numbers or are willing to share, but a lot of your business comes from that group, right?
Actually, about 25% of my business comes from that, but it's a constant. Yeah, about 25%. But a lot of that 25% is of referrals. Like someone's leaving and they leave my name. Someone's coming in, they leave my name. Not just one sport specific, but part of it is because of the way they've perceived the care aspect of it.
Totally. Yep. 100%. I love that. Great example. So, and here's the thing, don't let it totally overwhelm you guys, but you definitely need to be thinking about your groups. At least have your group situated, and then you can start to build on what the unique insights, access, and services could be. And we can come back to that if you guys need to, or if we have more questions. So I'm going to go pretty fast through these slides, but this is important for you guys to know. And here's why. Consumers and clients are looking to you guys as the experts. You need to be, Gary says now, you need to not only be a realtor expert, you need to be an economist, for lack of better words, because everything is playing into that. And that this is new too, right? 3 years ago, you didn't really have to be the US economist. And now you need to be able to know and answer some of these questions. So I'm going to run through this. And then if you have any questions, just pause me, type them in the chat. So what's happened? First, we had a global pandemic in COVID-19. We had the US economy, we have the housing market, we have new construction. And I know several of you represent new construction on here, so I want to hear from you eventually too. We have the commercial realm, and then we have luxury, and I know we have a lot of luxury on here too. So this is just to give you an update on COVID. And also, and here's the thing, I know we're not doctors and scientists and all this stuff, but just remember, all of this plays into massively the housing industry. And you might need to be the source of data for your clients. And it's a great way to touch your people with some of this data and some of these statistics, rather than just, hey, we sold another house, or hey, here, come to my open house. Why don't you be the person that's giving them information that they can share? So here's some stats on a 7-day moving average and the cases of Corona there. And this was, I guess, at the end of February, 27.3 million cases, 471,000 deaths, and 26 million total vaccinations at that point. So just to give you some data, here's some information on previous pandemics. I personally think this is great stuff to include in your communication with your clients lately, just to give them something different, right? I know this is kind of morbid. However, this could play into you helping them with the success of their business too. So we don't have to run through all of these, but I just want to make sure that you guys get this slide and that you have it. Obviously, it is COVID from 2019 to current, 2.4 million death toll. So not the highest that it's ever been. However, it is pretty up there. According to the pandemic, COVID-19, or to the economist, I'm sorry, COVID-19 isn't going away despite our vaccination efforts. So the likely outcome is that it'll just become something like the flu, like a seasonal flu. The goal is to minimize disruption to society through updated vaccines to account for the new strands, widespread vaccinations, better treatment regimens, early identification and intervention with new cases. And remember, guys, for those of us that might have been nervous or are nervous about a COVID, we have clients that are too. And remember, the Google stat said, what was it? 3/4 of the population is not going to feel comfortable. They're going to do it, but they're not going to feel comfortable going in public over the next 12 to 18 months. So being able to share this information with your people just sets you apart. This is a unique insight that you can give to your people that they might not be getting anywhere else. Ongoing management of the virus may require some permanent changes to the way we interact with one another. I want to talk to you about unemployment, because this is going to be a huge factor in our market shifting. So as you can see right now, if you look back in 2010, unemployment was 9.6. I was trying to look back through my notes. I know Gary has said this multiple times. I believe 6% is what Gary likes to say, is when you kind of feel a difference. 4% is like you're rocking and rolling, like 4% unemployment is like the sweet spot. So right now we're sitting at an 8.1%. You can kind of see over the years how they've gone up. Obviously, you can see the last shift that we had. This is the important part. And I know sometimes we see these slides, like it took me 3 or 4 times to get it. So I just want to make sure that you guys understand what it is. So this is the unemployment by income and income by sector. So if you look, the little orange is the actual unemployment rate in August. And this is by their sector. So you can see financial activities. The ones that really have had the most, obviously, are leisure and hospitality at the very far right, the most impact, because most of that's been restaurants, leisure things that because of COVID, we got shut down. The teal shows their weekly earnings. And then the pink is the unemployment in January of this year. So August to last year to January of 2021. So here's the one thing that you can see. The people that are making the most money are not the ones being affected as much by unemployment. The people that are making the lesser weekly earnings, which are the leisure and hospitality and the retail trade, are the ones who've been the most affected by COVID. So that's where you're seeing the unemployment rate spike. This is good to know for your clients as well, you guys, because if you have a lot of clients that are in leisure and hospitality, they're the ones who have been the most affected. And then here it is by housing by age, unemployment and housing by age. So as you can see right now, the 74% of people who are homeowners are of the age of 35 and older. And they actually have the lowest unemployment rate. So this is a good thing, because the people who are buying the most houses at the age sector that are buying the most houses are the ones that have been the least affected by unemployment. People between the age range of 25 and 34 have made up 23% of last year's annual home purchases. And then 24 or younger, only 3%. 24 and younger are the ones that have the highest unemployment rate right now. So these are just numbers for you to be knowledgeable in and to know. This is very important. These are the changes in home preferences post-COVID. So here, this is great data for you to be able to give to your clients and for you to know, right? So in a recent survey, KW agents reported the following trends. And remember this, it's easier to poll KW agents, and there's 180,000 of us. Demand for home offices, large backyards, and high-speed internet has increased significantly now that people are working and spending more time at home. I don't know if you guys have been finding this in your clients, people who you're looking for houses for, but I know we have. They're wanting home office, they're wanting a bigger backyard. The importance of proximity to work and amenities has decreased. People no longer live or want to live 5 minutes from their office because they're working from home more. They don't necessarily care as much. Clients showed increased interest in suburban and rural areas, while only 2% reported more interest in urban areas. This is different per city too. That can change, have a huge play depending on the city that you're in. And then the second part to this is these changes in preference boost demand for new homes, which are often located in more suburban and rural areas. So that's going to play into those percentages, because I know you guys are feeling this because I talked to many of you about it. A lot of our clients right now, if they can't find what they want because there's nothing on the market, they're building. So new construction is insane. Most new construction is far away from urban centers. You can build to your current needs, which are atypical of how most existing homes are designed. And low inventory means intense competition for existing homes, which is what we talked about at the beginning with 30-something offers. For those of you that rep builders, and or play in the new construction space, this is an important slide to note as well. As you can see right now, new home stats are up majorly. So these are single family new home starts in the thousands. So we're almost up to where we were back in 2007. And then I would say, and the economists predict this year and next year, for the next 3 to 5 years, new construction, we'll see it be at the highest that it's ever been. So they really believe that we may actually exceed those 2005, 2006 numbers. Just out of curiosity, if you work with a builder, would you just type yes in the chat? I'm just curious to see how many people of our top agents work with a builder. Would love to see that. Thank you. Yeah, I know many of you do. Yep, a lot. Yep. Okay. So demand increasing in second home markets. So many of you know that we have a second home in Charleston, South Carolina. Adam is primarily based out of Charleston. and we actually bought a new house here at the end of last year. Charleston is insane right now for second homes. Holy moly, it's nuts. But it's increasing everywhere. So 40% of agents reported an increased interest from clients in second and vacation homes now that they can spend extended periods of time in multiple locations. So I want to pause on that for one thing. Number one, are you even asking or having conversations with your clients about second homes? Because remember, you can refer them to anywhere in the country. And are you even having that conversation? Are you asking them if a second home or a vacation home is something that's on their 1 to 5 year goal list? If not, you definitely need to be. And then the second piece that I want to share about that is right now, more than ever, you need to be building your referral relationships. Many of you probably get the email that we send out for our team on referral, agent to agent referrals. We've already had 8 this year in 2021 from other agents. We've had 8 referrals. Actually, if Sarah's on there, it might even be more than that now, but the last I know we talked about it, we'd already had 8. Yes, Lori. Yes. So one, start building your agent to agent referral relationships. Demand is also increased in these markets from remote workers buying what traditionally was a second home as their primary and only residence. Now that they aren't tethered to a city by work, they are choosing to live full-time in a mountain, at their lake house, at their beach house. The impact will be low inventory and rising prices in these markets, which may spur an increase in new construction in these areas as well. So, oops, went backwards. So don't forget that and keep that a part of your conversation. So where are we going? What's happening now in the existing housing market? So just so you guys are aware, coming legislation that matters to you. They're talking about another relief bill, tax breaks, direct payments. They are talking about another first-time homebuyer tax credit. And I don't know, for almost all of you were, probably almost all of you were around when they did the first-time homebuyer tax credit. Was it 7,000 or 8,000? I can't remember. Back in 2009, 2000. I think it was 8. Does anybody remember?
Started out 7,500 and then it went to 8.
Yeah, you're right, Ryan. Thank you. Yep. So you can remember what happened for those of you that were in business then when they offered that first-time homebuyer tax credit. If this happens again, get ready for demand to rise further. And they really do believe that that will be put into place. So that's something that you need to be knowledgeable about, be in the know on, keep up with. And then vaccines, just because this will affect us, right? Whether you want to get it, whether you already have gotten it, or whether you're never going to get it, that's irrelevant at this point because it does play into our real estate industry. 2 vaccines have been approved for emergency use in the US and Canada. Right now, 26 million vaccinated in the US with roughly 6 million getting both shots. Vaccination rate of 1.3 million doses per day and rising. You can get Canada numbers also. The biggest challenges for disruption, patchwork disruption policy across the US causing confusion. Vaccines must be transported or stored frozen. I know some of you have had conversations with, and I have a lot of friends who actually weren't even on the list to get it. And then because they got too much and they have to be vaccinated or they have to be used within a certain time frame because of the temperature, they were able to get theirs. And then vaccine skepticism remains high at 31%, say they will not be vaccinated, and 8% are unsure at this point. So there are a lot of things that come into play with this. The return to normal, 70 to 85% of the US must be vaccinated to safely resume normal life and end social distancing. I did not know that until I saw this. And that was very eye-opening to me. Less than 2% have been vaccinated to date. So we still have a little ways to go to return to the normal that I think we all so desperately want. Could happen as early as fall 2021 if vaccination efforts are ramped up. Stephanie's right, there are 3 now. Didn't Johnson & Johnson just come out with one, I heard? I don't know if that was the second or third. I kind of live under a rock, to be honest, so I need to brush up on some of that. Yes, that's the one
That
shot.
was yesterday. Yesterday they came out.
Yeah,
with
Chris.
Johnson & Johnson one vaccine.
Yep, that's what I thought. Thanks, Krista. Yeah. Okay, so I don't live as under big of a rock as I thought that I did. The need to vaccinate ahead of new variants could decrease vaccine efficiency. Excuse me. When will consumers come back? This is something that's important too. 2/3 of Americans don't expect to resume normal life until late summer. And I don't know what you guys are hearing. I mean, I feel like people are planning vacations more than ever. and are back to traveling. However, the stats don't say that. 6% have already resumed normal activity, while others, 8%, feel that things will never go back to normal. Older Americans, 65 plus, are more optimistic about quick recovery. Less affluent households, meaning people making under 50,000 a year, feel it'll take longer. Most consumers are still shying away from certain activities such as eating out, going to the movies, or going to the gym. And it's not huge percentages, but there are some percentages. And so just to put a bow on this, new patterns emerging from the pandemic, surges in desirable markets as people experienced increased mobility. So that's kind of the second home and really desirable areas. So we need to think about in all three of our markets, what are the desirable things about those areas? What would want people to want to move there? People moving to less expensive cities may take some pressure off prices on the coast and drive them up in new destination cities. Charleston being on the coast. I mean, you guys, Josh knows too, because we've been looking around here because I'm begging them to buy a second house here at this point, but it's insane. I mean, it is insane. Like I can't even, it's just nuts. It's like houses that sold for 400,000 probably, I would say 3 to 4 years ago are like $1 million to $1.5 million with nothing different done to them. People less focused on living near the office will allow more opportunity for new construction, especially at higher price points as people begin to work remotely. So this is just an annual forecast for this year. Economists believe home sales will be right around 5.9 million. So up just a little bit from last year, up 4.6%. The median price will raise. They suspect it to be right around 317, which is up 7%, which that's great news for us too. But month supply of inventory, they're hoping to get us to right around 3.3 months total. I know for some areas right now, their inventory is less than a month supply. Others like New York City is back up to like 9 months, I think I heard last, just because of the people vacating from there. So you can kind of see that. So I want to end wrapping up. Actually, Adam will start early with a couple of things. This was a Zoom I had with Gary last week, and I loved what he had behind him. And I just think that this is so relevant for us to think about. He always writes stuff on his whiteboard when we have our Zooms, and I just always, it's something relevant. And so he said, choose your goals, choose your destiny, choose your model, choose your profit. If you don't reimagine your business, someone else will. And I know that it's a lot to think about. And I just want to challenge you guys too. If you aren't spending, I know we run fast. Let me back up. I know we run fast, and I know we're all into everything. And if we aren't spending time working on our business, we really, really need to be. We need to be time blocking to spend some time focusing on our business, getting your database accurate, getting your people in groups, thinking about how you can provide that experience. What does it look like? And we're guilty of this too. Josh and Sarah and I are, in regards to some weeks we have our weekly meeting, and some weeks we're too busy and we don't have our weekly meeting. Troy, yes, the 12-week year book is great. That's a great thing to think about too. And you've just got to be spending time on your business right now, because if we aren't reimagining our business, then it really is true, someone else will. And we all have a fair share of market share, and there's enough out there for everybody. One of the last things I wanted to talk to you guys about is just having is your skills of leadership, and especially this first one, having a shared purpose and build a shared culture. Do you have a plan? Are you using a GPS? Are you staying on course with a 411? I'm going to be honest, some of you have seen mine, and I think I even have a picture of it on here, but this is the first year, and granted, we're only at March 9th, so I still have the rest of the year to go. Yet, so far, this is the first year that I truly, in 100% fashion, am sticking to my 411. And I'm re-updating it every Sunday night, and it does take time. And the amount of things that I've already accomplished just so far in the first 2-ish months has been incredible. So I'll share that with you. Find the right people, connect with the right people, understand people. It's all about the who's. I do have my book. I know many of you are reading this or have read this, but if not, you need to add this to your list this year, Who Not How. It's incredible. I know several of you have already read it. And actually Linda and I are having him on our podcast this month, so I'm super pumped about that. Develop people. You need to be able to, and that's exactly why I'm having Adam come on to teach you guys how to ask better questions, because we need to be better trainers. We need to be better coaches. We need to learn to succeed through other people. Things are different now. And so we need to be able to, make sure that we know how to develop people and do that. Listening, problem solving, staying in curiosity, set standards and build respect is what great leaders do. Inspect what you expect. And so for those of you who have teams, what Gary says about this is manage by wandering around. Are they actually doing what you're expecting them to do? And then own the results, build a culture of accountability. I love that. I think so many people think accountability is such a negative thing. And it's not. It's what helps us hit our goals, and it keeps us on track for where we are. One of my favorite things from family reunion was this, and I love it so much. And it was just to be 1% better. If you can just focus every day on being 1% better, you are going to be able to see yourself at a whole nother level and take control of your business and your industry. And so for me, that's something that I've been really working on this year. And I want to challenge you guys to work on that. Is what do you need to do to just be 1% better every day? How often are you looking at your goals? Because if you want to get 1% better every day, you have to be looking at your goals. And I can very honestly tell you that before, I've never been great at that. I would set goals and I would never look at them again for the rest of the year. And then over the last couple of years, I would get better. I would look at them maybe once a quarter, something like that. I'm in this thing. I mean, it even stresses me out to look at it, to be honest, a little bit, that I'm in this every day at some point. And I know that I'm going to have to be able to get closer to my goals. And really, in reality, that's what we all want, right? We all need to do that. So before we move into, we'll end early too. I think Adam will only last about 30 minutes, but before we do that, would love to hear just thoughts, ahas, feedback on what we've covered so far.
Dana, I'd love to hear people's thoughts on the new construction, because, you know, while it might be an option for people, I don't know where that ends when, like, for example, I just got this from my builder. He said on October 6, 2020, he got a lumber quote for a custom build that we're doing, and the cost was $67,130. The lumber was at nearly an all-time high at that time. And then as of today, which was Monday, it was $73,080. And it's not expected to get any better, according to an 84 Lumber email that went out to all the local builders here, that they're expecting this to continue to worsen over the next 5 months. And so I don't know how new construction can, or how at some point consumers have to say, I'm not going to pay that price.
Would love to hear. I have thoughts on that. Would love to hear from you guys too. Who has a lot of experience with new construction and sells for a builder, and what are you guys seeing?
Well, I heard the exact same thing yesterday. I represent a small custom builder 12 doors down, and he said the exact same thing, because we are designing plans for new spec homes, but it's so hard to price it, because, you know, you design a plan 1 month and 60 days later, maybe you thought you had a handle on the price and you don't, so. But the one thing that I know for sure is that, when you're building a new home, you're going to lock yourself into a price, even if it's going to take 8 months to build or whatever. So it's the much better choice right now, in my opinion, than trying to buy a resale home where you're going to be forced to be in multiple offer situations. So it's still definitely the better way. And I think without really, really, really overpaying like we are on the existing market.
Well, the one comment I would add to that, though, is that here in our local area, the Home Builders Association put together essentially an escalation clause that goes into the contract that states that the builder has the right to increase the price to reflect the increase in their pricing. So I guess you're lucky that that's not in your area, but that's in our area. And it essentially says that unless the consumer wants to eat the cost or pay for it, the builder has the right to shut down the project until the prices stabilize.
Now, I haven't seen that, but what I have seen over the years that I've been in new homes, which was a majority of my sales career over the last 33 years, was that the builders would say that the average percentage of options that a buyer is making in this community is X. And if you would go over that number, that if there were to be an appraisal problem, that you would be responsible for that. So it makes a lot of people have to rethink, okay, what options are the most important to make now? Because it really can be an appraisal issue later if they're over improving in a community that's fastly, moving at a rapid rate of sales, than ever in new homes.
Lisa, I know you sell a ton. Were you going to add?
I was just going to say that, I've been doing new construction for a little bit and these costs have gone up. My builder would say today that the lumber package has doubled just since maybe 6 months ago. We're communicating that up front when we first sit down with someone as a custom buyer, that is a moving mark. And we are pricing it at whatever the current daily rate is. And I think they've taken it upon themselves to build in a slight bit of buffer and stick to that pricing. And if it goes over and they get a little bit of hit on their profit margin, that they do that. And they will agree to go ahead and do it that way to get those people on paper and get the contracts to custom build for them. But they inherently just take the risk and keep that, having used the most recent pricing and a bit of buffer. And they just will hold to that for the client. So when the client signs that contract, that's what they'll pay. And if they get hit by it, they get hit by it. But their policy and their business style has allowed for them to still do well on those custom builds with that as their basis.
Lisa, I would agree. Sarah, you can pipe in if you're on or if you want to, but that's how the builder that we represent, very similar. Jenny Mulberry, I think that's his kind of motto too, in regards to it. Lisa, Evelyn, were you going to say something?
Yes. The other thing that's happening is there's the lottery system, which isn't new to the market, but there's also, I heard about a bidding process where, the highest bidder gets the lot kind of situation going on, and lot prices are going through the roof. So it's not affordable for a lot of people that would have gone into new construction. I have 2 people right now that want new construction that can't get it because they can't afford it. And these are people that are in the mid 300 range, $300,000 to $400,000 range. So it's not always the best option. It's not the only one.
Is that for the lot premium? So if they say
lot premium,
my first choice lot, and I'm willing to spend X on the lot premium?
Yes, that and the price of the home as well.
Oh, I haven't seen the price. I've only seen it where the lot premium would win. And yes, so builders can't keep up right now. So yeah, there is a lottery involved because there's a wait list on a lot of communities because they can't keep up with, the construction timelines with so many buyers. So it's crazy.
So that's why they're creating the bidding wars. I mean, it's the same thing as not even just the lottery, but the highest bidder. Like if
I have not heard
to go up $10,000 or $20,000 above. I heard somebody on the podcast the other day talking about it. I don't know if it's hit our market yet, but if it hasn't, it's coming.
No.
Yeah.
So it's going to be the same situation that's in the resale world of bidding wars, which is not great. And I don't know when the bottom is going to fall out, but our poor buyers.
Yeah. It's very unfortunate for people that have a specific price point that they have to stay in, which is most people, by the way. Troy Marsh, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I definitely, Carissa Pulte is doing it. We have a client who just signed a contract 2.5 weeks ago, and they said that they will do a lottery at some point. But basically they're trying to get as many buyers interested in the same lots as possible. And then they do the lottery and then they pit each buyer against each other. So we still 2.5 weeks ago, they still haven't even announced the date of the lottery yet. But what I was going to say in general is, you know, even though obviously this is a crisis for all of us, it's the way that we, you know, feed our families. I think ultimately the market will work this out. Prices are going to go up in the short term for sure due to lumber and competition, but it also driving prices up creates opportunity for more developments that didn't exist. I think about what Dana went through earlier with regards to, you know, the patterns of buyers and people being willing to live further out, you know, living out near Marysville, or, you know, further up closer to Delaware, places like that, that previously weren't a place where you could build $500,000 houses and have people move there. We're already seeing it now. And I think we're going to continue to see that. I think we're going to see cities like Delaware and Columbus, and Marysville and some of these other places become more regional hubs. So people are going to, you know, downtown Delaware is a place that people go to. And so we're going to see development in areas around those types of places that didn't seem possible 5 years ago, due to some of these changes.
I definitely agree with that. Troy
So
Fadish.
I think though it's a huge opportunity. And so if any of you guys know a developer or a builder that would be interested in a development, that's a project that I want to work on. So just throwing it out there.
Yeah, I'm working with a builder right now. We build with Newform, which is a concrete framing. So we totally bypass any type of lumber to frame. We're just trying to get labor to build it quicker, because it's supposed to, theoretically, you could be under roof in less than 3 weeks. So we're trying to find some developments we've already done a couple downtown, but we want to do like a more planned development. So I could talk to you about that, Troy.
Yeah, in regards to labor, or I'm sorry, in framing and lumber, yeah, that is going up. But traditionally, production builders make their money on options, not the framing portion. So they love it when you add options. So and they make money on the lot premiums. That's huge Pulte thing. So.
Okay, real quick, Troy Fabish, were you going to say something about the tax abatement?
Yeah, I sell down towards more of the urban villages, and don't forget about your opportunity zones, Milo Grogan, Cleveland Avenue area. And also there are new home sales going on in Southern Orchard and in Old Town East with 15-year tax abatements. I've got a buyer right now that was a referral that we're able to get them $50,000 over their original price because the taxes are abated for 15 years. And that's a huge selling point. And they're going to sell the house probably when the tax abatement's still going on. So don't forget about those areas too. Great point. Love that. Great point. Great point. We should keep doing this more and talk about this. So I'm gonna move into Adam's part really quickly, and I want to share this with you. One of the biggest lessons I've learned from Linda McKissick as a mentor of mine over the last several years has been this: none of us are good enough to make any buyer buy, any seller sell, any agent move to Keller Williams, anybody do anything. People only do things when they self-discover, and they only self-discover through 3 ways, and that's questions, stories, and experiences. And so we have to get better at asking questions, and we've got to understand the ability to ask questions and the art around it. And I don't know anybody that knows how to ask better questions. Jenny and Dawn can have my back on this than Adam. So I wanted to, sometimes it's a good thing and sometimes it's a bad thing for me, but I wanted him to be able to share with you guys and walk you through this. So you want to switch spots?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then you can, I want to take notes. So here you go. I'm going to click you through. There you go. All right. I'll move out of the way.
What is taking you so long? There we go. She about falls over. Hello, everybody. She fell over. What is today? Today is Today's Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, everybody. I trust you all have had a great session so far. What's been good so far? Any good ahas? Or anything I can get caught up on here? Troy Marsh's face is so pretty. Look at that. That's a statement, by the way, not a question. Okay, well, let's just dive into this. So this is something that I've been taught for years. So none of this is my creation. This is all from my past coaches, my past experiences. And I title it Knowing What to Say, When to Say, and How to Say It. Before we get into understanding the art of asking questions, we have to get into understanding what a habit is. Because many of us are in the habit, and we don't have to raise hands here, but many of us are in the habit of solving problems always. Whether that's in our relationships, whether that's in with our buyers and sellers, whether that's in with our partners, whatever it may be, we hear something. And for those that have read the experience book, we know that there's two types, right? We hear it and then we listen. One's voluntary, one's involuntary. And we hear things and then we listen, which is the voluntary part. And then we go into a solution mode, which isn't always the best thing to do. So what is that habit? A habit is a reoccurring, often unconscious pattern of behavior, thoughts, or feelings that are acquired through frequent repetition. Yeah, we're still talking about questions here because we have to understand where our habit currently lies. And this is something kind of fun because if you pay attention to where and how you show up and what habits you have in the space of, just keep admitting people when they come in.
Yeah.
In the space of questions, this is what you're going to get. So let's take a look at this. What is a habit? A habit goes like this. I'm looking right here in the middle here. This is think and then a feel and then a think and then a feel. That's how questions and that's how habits are formed. We think something, we feel something. We think something, we feel something. Let's look at the habit questions. Think of a time you were successful. What were the habits that you had that made you successful, right? Next, think of a time that you were not successful. What were your self-defeating habits that were present? And again, we're just talking about habits here. We're going to get into the art of asking a question in just 1 second. And what was the difference between the two situations? You see, because on the left-hand side of this page, by the way, this is just me whiteboarding. I'm constantly whiteboarding here in our new remodeled little room. And Dana made me take down all these white sheets, so I had to take a picture of it. This right here is the 7 core habits of failure. Okay. Number 1, there's no prioritization of skill. Skill we're talking about right now is the power of asking good questions. Therefore, you procrastinate. And when you procrastinate in the sense of asking good questions, you go right into solution mode. Then you have what are called time bandits. Then you have negativity. Oh my gosh, I can't ask the right questions. Then you go into resistance. I'm not going to do it, so I'm just going to solve all the problems. Then we get into chaos, and then we go into isolation. Please don't go into isolation. Isolation is never a good place. So how do we get out of that habit? How do we transform from the 7 core habits of failure? By the way, we can send you all of these so you don't have to take crazy notes here. To
You're going to have to click it. No.
Click what?
Click the arrow.
Arrow. Got it. To the 7 steps of transforming here. So it's just the opposite. Number 1, I know the skills to prioritize in my business right now. That can be asking questions. Therefore, we take action, which is us sitting here listening. Therefore, it creates freedom of anxiety. It creates a positive focus. There's willingness to continue to practice because you can create a system out of it, and then you get back into the communication component of it. Many different ways of looking at that process. Let's go into the 7 steps here. Become familiar with how you no longer want to think, feel, and act. What old thoughts do you want to eliminate? Number 3, stop the old habits, right? What is that one video? Just what they say, just stop it. Stop the old habits. What do you want to think, feel, and act? You want to change, deliberate, and then action. Deliberate and action. Think about it. Action, then start over. Okay, so that's habit, gang. We're going to transition out of that real quick, but I wanted to share with you what that looks like from the habit forming standpoint. The next thing we're going to go into is the model of the story. I don't think I have any paper here, but I wanted to write this out. Yeah, will you hand me that, please? Yeah. Oh, perfect. And the big pen. So the story model, gang, looks like this. This is something that we use all the time. The story model, draw a big circle. And that's your clock. The story model, and again, this is going to help you with your question asking. At 12 o'clock, I want you to write something happens. Okay. At 2 o'clock, I want you to write there is a reaction. 9 times out of 10, you are reacting. What comes after reaction at 4 o'clock? Starts with a J and ends with an judgment. Judgment. We get into judgment. And at 6 o'clock, I want you to write down you make up a story. Okay. Now, this is still the art of asking questions, and we're going to get into some questions, but I need you to hear and understand the psychology behind this. Something happens, you react, you get into judgment, and you instantly create a story. Now, on the left-hand side of the dial, at 8 o'clock, I want you to write seeks evidence. So now you're going to go out and you're going to seek evidence. And then at 10 o'clock, you're going to predict or you're going to change your future or someone's future, whatever it wants to look like. Okay, so we're going to change future. Now, I want you to draw an infinity symbol around 6 o'clock and 12 o'clock because, gang, that happens all the time. It's happening right now, whether we like it or not. Something happened. Something is happening. Adam Roach is sitting here telling you how to ask better questions, and I haven't given you any questions yet. You're creating a story in your head. This guy's a knucklehead. What's he talking about, right? And so you're instantly judging or you're reacting to what I'm saying here. If you go over here to the seek evidence, this is harder for me to reframe over here. Okay. If you get into seek evidence, meaning that you're going to go find where I've done this before and maybe failed, then you're going to instantly create a judgment or a future that says, if Dana ever invites him back, I'm not getting on again. Right. That's all joking. However, that's what happens in the story model. When we get into conversations with someone, something's happening, they state something, we instantly react and then we judge it. Okay. So I want you to pay attention to your language because now the question is, in the conversation, can you keep them on this side of the story model, which is the right-hand side? And how do you do that? You do that by affirming their objection and then reframing it with a question. I'll repeat that. You keep them on the right-hand side of the dial by affirming their objection and reframing it with a question.
Are you going to give us an example?
Yes.
Okay.
If it happens to get on this left side or this 6 and 10 o'clock part of the dial, here's what's going to happen. They're going to seek evidence and then they're not going to believe you as you try to reframe it because they think they have evidence, right? How are we doing so far? We having fun yet? Okay, because now we're going to get into something a little bit deeper. Here we go. Next, the 7 steps to understanding the power of questions. Questions unlock and open doors. They're the most effective way to connect with people. Questions cultivate humility. They help engage others, allow us to build better ideas, not solutions, give us different perspectives, and questions challenge mindset and save you from a rut, right? So again, this is all stuff that I used in a presentation I was doing in recruiting. So I want you to see this real quick. This is recruiting. So if any of you are recruiting to your team, if any of you are recruiting to your office, whatever it may be, recruiting to your profit share, here's what happens. You create a question that gets them to think. Question again, you get them to think. Here's what the process looks like. You establish rapport by leading to trust. How do you build trust? Hold on, what are you doing?
Sorry, I'm just making sure.
Next, we go through curiosity, questions, and create a gap, right? So you want to create a gap. And we're going to get into some of these questions, gang. I'm just giving you more framework. You define goals, values, and purpose and a why. You understand their current habits. These are all based on questions. And you articulate their gap, you and the recruit, and you close for your second appointment. This was all in the recruiting space. We having fun yet? Because now we're going to get into questions. I see some smiles. Okay. So what types of questions are there? I want you to understand the question pyramid. It is ranked from the bottom as the least effective to the top being the most effective. The bottom of the pyramids looks like this. Why questions? So why type questions evoke negative or positive emotions. Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you want to do that? Why didn't you do that? Can you feel that? Why would you not want to lead generate? Right? How many of us that are leaders of teams and team leaders feel that same way with some of the people on our team? Why wouldn't you want to practice scripts? You can feel that, right? Let's go into how-based questions. If you look at the right-hand side here, it says examples of questions based on finding or forward movement. Why are we not moving forward? How can we accomplish this faster? Let's go into one of my favorites, the what's. What could you do differently to accomplish more? And then lastly, who can you get to do this? And that was all based on the example of forward movement. So I want you to slow down. Let's go back to habits. When you're in your cycle of question thinking, question feel, think about the pyramid here and what are you doing in the space of starting your questions? What are you doing? Which question starter are you using the most? I don't know. Pay attention though when you're doing it. So here's some examples of probing questions, and they're all using that pyramid of questions. Why do we have this problem? We've all used that question before with team members, right? Why do we have this problem? Where do our team members go when we ask that question? They probably close off a little bit. Would you all agree? Yeah. Why do we have this problem? Or it sparks, or maybe the feeling of, gosh, did I create that problem? How do we solve this problem? That feels a little bit better. Next, what steps must we take to solve this problem? Again, you can feel the power of the questions getting stronger. And lastly, who has a solution to this problem? That who being the most powerful of the questions. How are we doing so far? Any questions that you have? How am I doing on time here? Okay. 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 Any questions? Anybody want to type anything into the chat? Anything? You doing okay? Do I need to scroll down to do anything? Okay. All right. So let's go to the next slide here. Or the bottom part. Questions and categories. There are so many different types of categories. If you want, I can give it to Dana. I've created 5 pages of different categories of questions with examples of them. And here's a few. This is going to be like a page and a half of example-based questions of categories. So an assumptive question: what makes you a great recruiter? An indirect question: isn't there something else you could be doing? A scaling question: on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rate your problems in terms of priority? Priority to do them. A listening type question: how can I best help you think through this? Keep going. Thought-provoking question: you become what you think about most. So what are you becoming? Get them to think, right? Those are some of my favorite ones. Oops. Let's keep going here. Questions continued. Clarifying questions: what specifically causes you to think about that? If you want to underline and bold and circle and italicize that word specifically, trust me, that will save you many, many heartaches, right? So when you're diving into team members, or you're diving into recruits, or whatever it is your role is, clients, you're diving into clients, use that word specifically. What specifically? Who specifically? And narrow it down even more. So we're going to get to one of my bottom ones here, and I want you to remember the 3 amigos phrase. And I'll teach that in a second. Reality: what have you tried already? What difference did those actions make? A thinking category: can you see, and what gaps are there in your thinking? A motivational question: what's important to you about that? Now, you can throw the word specifically in any of these, right? So anytime someone comes to me, and I'm sure Jenny has heard this many times, or Dawn, I don't know who's all on this, what specifically is important to you about that? And then business building question: suppose you did all the activities you were supposed to do, what would happen to your business? Okay, the last one. Gang, write these questions down. This is super duper easy, and I guarantee you it will help you solve or create a gap of value that you can help people. It's called the Three Amigos. Ask any questions that we've just gone through in the category with the word specifically, and then pause, and then say, what else? Pause again, and say, what else? Pause one more time, and say, is there anything else? Okay, now we are in what's called the art of asking questions. We are in this space of learning how to empty buckets, not solve problems. In the space of I'll just keep staying in recruiting because that's what I do. I want to know what specifically is stopping you from joining me today. And you're going to tell me. And then I'm going to say, what else? And I'm going to wait. And I'm going to say, what else? And I'm going to wait. And then I'm going to say, is there anything else? And notice I didn't respond to any of them because I'm emptying that bucket out. You can do the exact same thing with clients. You can do the exact same thing with spouses, kids. What else? What else? Is there anything else? And go as deep as you can. That's my favorite part here. Okay, how we doing? Any thoughts, any questions, any comments? Anything? What else? What else? Is there anything else? Oh, look, there's Josh Shepler. I just saw him on there.
Yep.
Woo woo. Okay, last page. This is really fun. The 4 squares of a conversation. Now, understanding this is understanding psychology inside of questions. So when you sit down with someone, again, whether it's a client, whether it's a family member, whether it's a recruit, you can go from top left to bottom left to either top right or top or bottom right, or you can invert those. So you start someone in a conversation with a positive present. And you can look like this. Again, I'm going to stay in the recruiting space. Congratulations on the success you have had. What specifically has caused you to have this great success? Listen. Keep listening. Ask more specific questions. What else? 3 amigos. Then you can go into a negative present. Just out of curiosity, do you feel you have reached your full potential? No. Great. What's the next level of success for you? Boy, I don't know. What specifically has stopped you from achieving those goals? Do you feel if you had more of X, you would have achieved those goals? Take them into that negative present. Remember, we're not solving problems here. We're taking them through an emotional cycle. We want them to think, we want them to feel. We want them to think, we want them to feel. And what's the importance of making them feel? Feel is the emotion that actually part of the brain. Your brain, there's a book, it's called Inner Size. I highly recommend you read it. Inner Size is a book that teaches you that there's 2 different types of parts of the brain. And inside of that brain, you have the logic part of the brain, which cannot hear language. Then you have the emotional part of the brain, which only hears language and makes decisions. So when you're taking them through this, here's the fascinating part. You can raise your hand, you can just say yes in your head, whatever. Have you ever been at a closing table, or have you ever been at not a closing table, but a dining room table, getting ready to take a listing or closing on a recruit, and they say, wow, this all sounds great. It just doesn't feel right. If you have not touched that part of the brain that makes the decisions in the emotional part, which is why we're taking them from a positive present to a negative present, and then to a negative future, positive future, or negative future, positive future. So let's keep going here. The negative future looks like this. If you didn't put those things into your business, what would that look like? Or if you didn't get your home sold in the next 30 days, what would that look like? Now, I had a tendency to, again, in the recruiting space, leave people in a negative future because I wanted them to come back the next day with questions. And so I would leave them in that negative future. Now, we can walk them into a positive future or leaving them at a positive future. And here's what that would look like. Great. Tell me, if you had more leads in your business, how many more deals could you do? Or if you were in the right environment, how many more deals could you close if you had the right environment around you? What would that look like? What would that make you feel? That's a big question there. What would that make you feel? Not how would it make you feel?
How could you use that for a seller?
So Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we're super excited to get your home on the market. Just out of curiosity, what would it make you feel to get this home sold in 24 hours? right? Mr. and Mrs. Seller, what would it make you feel if you got $10,000 over asking price? Not how. Remember the pyramid. How is closer to the bottom. What is a more powerful question? Because what makes them think, how makes them just like, okay, how do I feel? I feel good. What do you feel? I feel ecstatic. I feel energized. Does that help?
Yeah. Or I mean, a lot of times too, like what would it feel like if we sold your house and you got to be closer to your family?
Perfect. Yep. You're walking them through now. That's a positive future question.
Yeah.
Yep. Totally positive future. You want to role play this?
Sure.
Hold on. Before we go there, any questions so far on the 4 squares of a conversation? Again, we went through this really, really fast, gang. This is usually like an hour and a half long where we get into more detail, but any questions here that we can answer, that I can answer? Where does that pop up?
Adam, it's Stephanie. I have a question on a previous slide. Sorry. The triangle of the why, the how, the what, and the who. If you can start with, so do you work your way up, or do you choose if you can go straight to the who and ask that question, do you do that?
So personally, Stephanie, I can only answer that question personally, because everyone's going to be a little bit unique and different in their own approach. I'm going to go for powerful questions right out of the gate.
Okay.
I'm going to bring the energy and the power, and usually what-based questions. I'm a big what fan. What specifically, what caused. I want to dive in deeper there. You can start with why, but here's what I would do. If you're in the space of a why-based question, or you accidentally do that, pay attention to body language, right? Pay attention to shoulders, pay attention to legs, pay attention to arms, pay attention to eye contact, right? Because again, why is going to take them into feeling space, and why also just feels a little negative.
Okay. So if in that instance, the recruit says, or the seller says, this just doesn't feel right, do you then go back to a why to make them feel? Because you're saying what questions make them feel.
Yep. So Dana nailed it. Go ahead.
I would typically say, so Stephanie, I totally understand that about you not feeling right about selling your house. What specifically doesn't feel right about it?
Okay. Same thing with a recruit, I guess.
Yeah.
Adam, you missed my funny comment in the chat. You asked Dana what was taking her so long to get up, and I said, what specifically is taking her?
What was the book that Amy asked for?
That was the Inner Size. Hold on, where's the little thing?
There you go.
So what's the name of the book? Inner Size, and
I'll look it up.
I can't remember the name. Jenny Dawn, whoever else who's read that. Inner Size is a great book. Okay, I think we have some more. Troy said open-ended questions are key. Totally agree, Troy Fabish. Lisa said, I usually start with open-ended questions, funneled down to close-ended questions, while usually using reflective listening through the process. I love that. That's great language right there, Lisa. Lisa, can I ask you a question? Just curious. Reflective listening. What specifically does that mean? I don't know. I love that language though, reflective listening. There it is, John Astroff. That's right. Thanks, Stephanie.
Oh, perfect.
Yep.
There you go.
Okay, so any other questions or comments about this? Stephanie, great question. Okay, so the 4 squares of the conversation: positive, negative, negative, positive, whichever way you want to invert this last part here. Leave them in that space of wanting more is all I would say. If you're at the closing table, or if you're at a dining room table, I'm leaving them in a positive future, because I'm getting them to sign something that nice, specifically in this marketplace, right? We're getting them to sign that deal, that listing presentation tonight.
Yep. Did you go over the rules?
Sure. So rule number 1, this is, and again, my opinion based on appointments: know their goal and have created their gap. So the gap is the creation through questions of getting them from A to B. And again, from a recruiting space, we want to create that gap, because then ultimately from a value add standpoint, we'll show them how to get there faster. Rule number 2, remember, logic makes them think and emotion makes them act. Remember, when you're asking questions, which part of the brain are you talking to? And rule number 3, with the correct questions in the right framework, you should leave your appointments feeling 2 things: excited for their future and next appointment and fear of missing out, right? We want to create that negative future, even if you leave them in a positive future, of that fear of missing out, so that they either come back to the second appointment or they're ready to sign right now because of that takeaway of that fear.
Go to the next slide. I think I might have had.
Is there another one?
Oh,
Nope,
no.
ahas.
Okay, I was just gonna ask for ahas. Okay,
Okay.
perfect.
Okay. Thanks for your time, everybody.
Thanks for doing that. Any ahas? Do you guys learn anything from that? Anything you'd want to share?
I need to practice asking questions.
Yeah.
Moment of truth.
Yeah. I think we all do, which is why I really wanted him to share this, because it's just a great place to start.
Yeah, Adam is definitely the master of question asking. And even with him reviewing a cash talk, the notes made on it, he was like, oh, well, did you ask her why she said that? Did you ask her what she felt about that? Did you ask her what things she was going to implement? I was like, no, I didn't ask her any of that. I mean, I was like, she answered all these questions and I didn't go, that 3 deep thing. So what else? What else? Is there anything else?
It's funny, Jenny, I have an accountability partner every day. We text our top 3 to 5 things that we're going to accomplish that moves our needle forward fastest. And we were having a conversation with a group of people. And he says, I just want you to know that Adam, the other day, I said that I was going to have coffee with my mom and bond. And he replied back, how will you define success with the word bond? And he says, well, who says that when they're going to go have coffee with their mom? Good old man.
Your coaching client, I can completely understand.
I always learned the W questions, they don't allow for a yes or no answer. And it would always remind me of how I picked my kids up from school and it's like, how was your day? Good. You never get a long answer. So, what did you do today? Or where did you guys go on your trip or whatever?
Yeah.
Always was funny thinking back.
Yeah.
Yep. Anytime I pick ours up from the from school, I'll say, what was your greatest opportunity today? And then I'll ask them what was the greatest thing that they accomplished. So I'll take them into a little bit of pain first because they know that opportunity means where did they not perform well, or where did they have a difficult time, and then what was their greatest success, and they love it. They love to share. I think
for me, Adam, it's learning to listen better.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times we already have the outcome in mind, so we allow the outcome to guide all of our questions instead of actually listening to what they're saying. Specifically, team members. When you're talking to team members, you have the outcome in mind, so you're thinking of all those questions, but not really intently listening to them.
Yeah,
so just to be a better listener for myself.
Totally agree. That's what Joan said in the chat too. Yeah, really important to listen.
I think, Josh, to your point, we have a tendency to go so fast.
Right. Yeah, slow down.
Regardless of where we are on the disc, we have a tendency to want to go fast. And sometimes tough conversations we want to get through.
Yeah.
And so we get attached to the outcome of either that conversation or that appointment or whatever it may be. And we don't listen to Joan. It's really important. She says we listen to their answers. That we don't listen. We literally hide behind that proverbial bush and just want to jump out and say, I got you. And that's not the right approach, or at least it's not the most effective approach, I'll say.
Yeah.
For
sure.
Absolutely.
Thanks for sharing.
All right. Well, thank you so much. That
My
was
pleasure.
very helpful. Thank you guys for being on. If you want more information about any of the stuff Adam shared today, you can just email him. I put his email on here. If any of you guys want his email, you can also go join his Facebook group. It's not just about recruiting. You can think of that as dealing with your clients for sure, 100%. I found this, I've shared it with a lot of you. I love this. You need 4 people in your life. You need a coach, a friend, a mentor, and a cheerleader. And you need to be one of those for somebody else. And so I just want to remind you of that. And then, oh, wait, where is my, hold on. Did I miss a slide with Caleb on it? Oh, shoot. I wanted to remind you guys. Hold on. I wanted to remind you really quickly. I know so many of you have asked for, I somehow have deleted that. Crap. So many of you have asked for investing in wealth building this year. And I just wanted to remind you, and I wanted to be able to have Adam tell you a little bit about him too. One of our really good friends, his name is Caleb Pearson, and he is, oh, I cannot find the promo. Okay, I'm going to email it to you guys. But I am doing an interview with him this week, a Zoom digitally. You guys, how old is Caleb?
I think he's just turned his 30s, early 30s.
Early 30s. He has a real estate team in Charleston. He owns a Remax franchise. But he has a real estate team. They did 70 million last year, but he focuses on investing. He's gone from 0 to 215 doors that he owns in the last 5 years. And he's done a lot of that through wholesaling, a lot of that through multifamily, a lot of that through what else? No, those are his main two, probably. But he agreed to come on and let me interview him, and he's going to share. And I believe that is this week. I'll send you guys a separate email about it just so you know for sure. It's Thursday at 1 p.m. This Thursday at 1 p.m. So mark your calendars, check your email. I'll make sure that you guys get that a couple different times because I know how you are. I'm the same way. And and try to be on that if you can. And you're more than welcome to invite any of your investor clients to that Zoom also, because Caleb's going to share. He's
amazing.
He crushes it,
Yeah,
for lack of better words. So, and if he can do it, we can, and all of you guys can do it too. So hope to see you Thursday at 1 p.m. Thank you guys. I hope today was valuable for you. And I just miss hugging all of you guys, but virtual hugs. Have a great week. And if you need anything, I'm here. Thank you all. See ya.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.